Welcome to the 611 Films YouTube channel. We are back in 99. My name is David Groves, one of your hosts. With me as always,
Neil McKay.
It is Neil McKay. And today we are going to be bringing out the dead. Scorsese film. Yeah, we did a lot of spooky films last year to start this whole series.
We started in October. And then we're doing more.
So here we are. We're going to be doing another horror podcast, just so people know. That might be coming out before this, with our buddy Johnny, as we've done a few times. But yeah, this is sort of Scorsese's spooky film. It's not horror.
This is a weird. So if you watch this is like the most bizarre thing. Watch the trailer to this movie.
Thursday started out with a bang. Heat, humidity, moonlight, all the elements in place for a long weekend. I was good at my job.
And you'd think it's this sort of like quirky dramedy thing. And I'm like, what? How did they like work this to piece this together? It almost feels like a joke trailer. It's like, this is because the movie feels very like gritty and dirty and dark. And then they make it almost like a comedy in the trailer where I'm like, huh? Like it just didn't fit.
I definitely have seen the trailer before. I'll post up a little bit of the clips of that. Not to like it's gonna give you anything, but I don't know, man. I just rewatched it too. I had seen it probably on DVD back in. I didn't see it in theater or anything, but I probably definitely saw it, and I remember liking it. But this go round, I watched it a couple nights ago, and I was like, this is really good. Like.
Yeah, it's really
trippy. It's a different, it's got the Scorsese. You got to have, the voiceover of the lead character. You got to have some Rolling Stones music. It's got to be in New York, except for like Departed. But I'm like, but it's different. It's not a gangster movie.
Yeah, it's overall I enjoyed it. I think it was a little bit more like slice of life, because I think it's all like 48 hours or like one day or something.
Yeah, it's 3 days. Yeah, 3 days.
There wasn't quite enough story for me to like kind of hook me, but there was enough going on and such a cool like style and like what's happening and the frenetic, it was very realistic of like, okay, this is what it's like to be, in an ambulance and you're trying to do all this stuff and everything that's like going on around you. So it was a wild ride. And I just always like came away from like, I can't believe like Scorsese did that. Like the guy really does take some chances sometimes. Cause everybody knows him for like, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Casino, but like, then there's like these movies that he does where you're like, wait a minute, he did that. And it's just wild, like The Last Temptation of Christ or the Last Waltz, which was like a documentary about the band. Like I just saw one recently called The After Hours or just After Hours, which was like this guy like trying to get a booty call, and it's like this night from hell, and it's like this weird comedy, and it's like, it's just the older I get, the more I'm impressed with the range of Scorsese. Like he does do the gangster stuff, he does like all kinds of things, and it's really cool to see. Like how he can kind of do something not in his wheelhouse and just make it his own,
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because rewatching it, I'm like, it's so interesting to see styles of everyone kind of coming together. You can see that he's borrowing a little bit from his of Taxi Driver for something like this movie. You got Nicolas Cage, who playing action star for a few years, doing The Rock and Con Air and Face Off, to now doing something a little bit more like Leaving Las Vegas, which got him an Oscar. And then the kinetic editing, the hyper stuff like that. We're not going to see that again for like Aronofsky's Pi and Requiem for a Dream. But it also has that thing, like the shimmering light, that shimmery thing. Spielberg is doing that. And, it's just so funny. Like I'm seeing different people take away for those weird 3-4 years, the new filmmakers, Paul Thomas Anderson, Tarantino, and Aronofsky, and then Scorsese. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, and you have to see the movie to kind of get it. But like styles are colliding here.
Yeah.
In a way.
It's very, I almost can't even describe the style. It's something you have just to see, because it's just so like dark and yet neon. Like it's so bright and dark all at the same time. And it just was very like, it almost like hurts your eyes after a while. You're just like, oh. You know?
Oh yeah. If you are epileptic or have, there's one sequence, so it's stay away.
Yeah, it's like but I mean, I kind of get it though, because it's like, oh, I'm supposed to feel like I'm an ambulance driver, and it's just lights and just shit everywhere, and it's at nighttime, and like, because that's where all the craziness happens, and it's just like, oh, like it's just bombarding the senses. So I mean, very effective, like what he was doing with this. So.
And you're right. I mean, I guess like I would say too, like you're correct, like in the way of just full on plot, like beginning, middle, and end, not really there. You know, him and Patricia Arquette, who kind of start like what you think would be the start of a romantic thing, doesn't really go that way. It is. We kind of are the yin and yang of each other, but it's not like fully romantic. If you know what I mean. Like, I don't think that they meant to do that.
Yeah. And it didn't, I don't think anything, I think that kind of thing wouldn't even fit with this, because this is really more about, you know, when you're in this position and every day you've got life and death in your hands. It's like, how do you, you know, somebody died, and then how do you just say, you know what, can't worry about that, got to move on to the next thing. And it's just crazy. Right. Like, I just can't imagine, you know, having that job, like just, you know, where you're week in and week out, it's just like everything's life or death. Everything, your adrenaline's constantly going, and when something bad happens, you just got to move on. And it's like, you get a little fried and a little like Nicolas Cage, like, oh, you know, and it isn't. It's a very. I mean, it's just a powerful year for movies. Just a bunch of them came out. I think this was like kind of I mean, it was critically lauded, but like a kind of a bomb. Like, I don't think it did very well at the box office. And I wonder, like, just because I can't remember when it came out that year, but if it just got overshadowed by stuff like even Scorsese coming out with something that was like, nope, we got all these other things going on. Crazy.
And it's got very like, it's got the gore. It's got like a lot of like kinetic energy. It's hard to watch sometimes. But it does have a lot of dark humor. You know, there's a whole thing with Cliff Curtis, sort of like him and what he's doing. Like, everybody's a little bit funny too. I don't know. It's got that Tarantino Scorsese thing, where sometimes the violence is actually funny. And like,
well, that's what I mean when if you take those kinds of like quips and like little things with the characters, and that's what they did for the trailer, and it makes it seem like this thing is kind of this like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like, that's not what this movie is about. I don't know. It just it didn't feel like it fit, but I don't know.
Look, I'd say go check it out. I am a fan of this. I really liked it. Seeing it again, I think gave me a bigger, better perspective of it. So I'm all for that.
I'd say, and not just this, like a lot of Scorsese movies, you know, obviously there's the classics and the big, you know, ones that he's known for, but all of these like ones that you don't, that you're like, oh, what he did, you know, those ones you never hear about.
Never hear, documentaries, all that stuff too.
All the stuff, that, you know, like now I kind of want to see stuff like that. I don't even, like, I've never even seen Kundun. Like, was that good? I don't even know. That was a totally different departure for him too. That was, and I think that
I don't know either, because I haven't seen it myself.
I think that was earlier in the 90s. Like,
right.
I think
remember of the name, but never saw it.
Anyway, it was just like stuff like that where I'm like, oh, okay, I want to give this a look, see, and
there's a reason why he's truly one of the greatest filmmakers of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
So for sure. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching this episode of Back in '99. Give it a like, give it a subscribe. We'd love to hear your comments on this movie, and we'll see you again on the next episode. Later.